In the immortal words of Smash Mouth, the years start coming and they don't stop coming. This never felt more true than every January when the big board on Underdog Fantasy launches. It's not yet a new Super Bowl, but it is a new fantasy football season. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to draft a couple of big board teams on Underdog, talk about some of my favorite targets as we go. You'll see some of them ranked very highly or popping in our new draft optimizer, all that good stuff. Right now, when drafts are just going, who are we targeting specifically to win $200,000 in the big board in January? That's what we're going to try to do. Let's do it. Yes, GM. Welcome back. Took a small little miniature streaming break here before we went full all the way into 2026, but we are off and running. Welcome to Spike Week. I can't believe we're already talking about our 2026 drafts, but I am excited to get into it very quickly. Rankings are out on the site for subscribers. You'll see the Underdog rankings here today with our premium subscription, which of course we have annual or we have a monthly option. You get access to absolutely everything, all of our tools, all of our rankings, the Discord. Again, we just launched a new draft optimizer that you'll see today. We'll dive into a little bit more fully this weekend. I'm really excited for it. Of course, the Draft Hacker and Draft IQ. And again, the Discord, which I cannot recommend enough. You can join the Discord for free to access all of the premium channels. They will show up if you are a subscriber. We also got baseball rankings are out there. We're going to do some baseball drafts here on the channel, actually starting tomorrow. And I will just say on Friday's episode, so we're going to do a 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern today, tomorrow, and Friday. Friday, we're going to do a little mailbag episode. I'll bring it up again later in the show. If you have questions, comments, anything you would like to discuss on Friday, we'll probably rip a couple drafts and I'll go through a bunch of stuff from the mailbag, whatever it is that you guys might want to listen to. So you can leave a comment here, leave it in Discord, whatever. Couple quick things about the big board. As Matthew says, GM, we lock in our money up for 10 months, yet even more, really, right? Basically a year. You know, we're essentially locking up our money for a year. Let's just call it a year. And so I do think that actually is a good place to start in what is our goal here? Of course it is to have fun. I think ultimately the number one goal should be, if you're drafting and putting your money in this thing that could potentially massively decrease in value over the course of the next year, you should be doing it for fun. That is, of course, what I do it for. If we get some money out of it, great. But I do want to maximize my chances at trying to win hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so how can we do that? I think figuring out the situations that the market is just maybe not fully in tune with. And I think a lot of that ends up being free agency, right? Who is or isn't a free agent is honestly something that I'm not sure that the market has, certainly not yet, fully fleshed out. I'm going to write something about that, and we'll talk about it a lot over the course of all of these shows. But the rookies get a lot of the hype during this time, and they're certainly an important element. You know, last year you could have gotten RJ Harvey as an example in the last round or whatever. If you identified him as a target, all that stuff's really valuable. But I think the biggest situations end up being free agents, right? Coaching changes that are impacting some things, and frankly, just some guys who are under or overpriced based on, it could be a wide variety of different things. And then you have a little bit of the structural stuff that we sprinkle in on top, right? We do get 20 rounds. So I think that helps us as prepared drafters. And I also think that, exactly, Versaire says, I think that there's a lot of situations like this. So Jonathan Brooks, as an example, he is very much a major target for me. He's just been out of sight, out of mind. Nobody knows, right? And then you have, I'm not saying that this is an exciting type player, but then you have another out of sight, out of mind type player like a Braylon Allen, right? Breece Hall is a free agent. I think just about everybody knows that Breece Hall is a free agent. He's almost assuredly not going to be back on the New York Jets. Braylon Allen is likely the next man up in that backfield. Not a guarantee, but we kind of assumed he was this year, right? Rico Dowdle is a free agent. Jonathan Brooks is probably the next man up in the Carolina Panthers backfield. Brian Robinson is a free agent. This can be good for both Rico Dowdle and for Brian Robinson, but it's also good for Jordan James. Jordan James, dude, does the market understand that Jordan James was actually, had surpassed Isaac Guerendo by the end of the season in San Francisco? Some really strong coach speak about Jordan James. Just a lot of stuff like that that I think you'll find a lot with running backs, and that's where I'm going to be planting my flags a little bit. I do, similar to last year, I do like some of the early round running backs a little bit more, but I don't love sort of the middle pocket of the running backs. We'll get into that with the rankings and such in just a minute. Is this a dinger stream? No, but that one is set up for tomorrow. Come join tomorrow if you want to talk a little baseball. Matthew says all my final teams were drafted before June. We're in CLV chasing mode. I think the fun thing about like our concept of CLV is that, let's go ahead and get into one of these, a regular big board. And I have not completed I've just been testing some things in a slow, but I have not completed any big board. So you're going to get to watch me go through this live in real time for the first time. And if we need to move over to a little board or something like that, of course, just let me know. But CLV in and of itself, right? CLV, for anybody to know, closing line value, meaning you drafted a player at pick 150, and by the end, people were drafted by the end of whatever tournament or slate or what have you. These people are drafting them at pick 100, at pick 80, at pick whatever. And like that in and of itself, you can't go to the bank and deposit CLV, right? But the concept is still very good. We know inherently we found something at a cheaper price that everybody has now determined is much more valuable than what that price was. That's good. We want to hold that more. We want to hold the valuable asset at a cheaper price, of course. But it isn't a stock market. We don't get money, right? You still have to perform. You still have to perform at the right time. The teams that win these tournaments always look funnier than we think. When we think back about a season, it never ends up being, the teams that win never end up being, Saquon defined last season, arguably. And was Saquon winning people tournaments by the end? No, Jonathan Taylor was, right? Did Marvin Mims define, does anyone give a what about Marvin Mims season last year or T. Higgins season last year? No, they were not very good. But in week 17, right? So there's always this weird push-pull where we just need to, what we need to do is draft. And this is where, people like Mike Leone have done really good research. And we do just need one more to fill this big board. Is like, you do just want to have as many non-dead roster spots, but you also don't want to have these, what I like to call the walking dead, and just get to the playoffs, have a well-structured team, which can be many different things, right? 2 quarterback, 3 quarterback, 3 tight end, 8 wide receiver, 10 wide receiver, whatever. All that different stuff can still be well-structured teams. But you really want to get there with as many live bodies that can have big games as possible. That's what can allow you to win in best ball specifically, right? In a cumulative scoring, I feel like we analyze best ball after the fact through cumulative scoring, but it's in reality a wildly different game on Underdog and on DraftKings, unless we're talking about the marathon, right? Or even the sprint's a little bit different. It's all very different. And it's why I love this silly little game, this silly little hobby that we play, is because, right, like things like CLV, like this is good. I want that cheaper price. Guys that have a great season. I want the guys that have a great season. Of course, the guys who have the best, score the most fantasy points over the season are the most likely to score the most fantasy points in the playoffs, but they don't usually. So I also want some other guys that survived, but still, you know what I mean? There's this weird balancing act. And so I'm trying to, in the big board, identify a small subset, right? So if I pull up, I'll use this optimizer that you see here, which of course, if you're a subscriber, we have the draft hacker, which you can see your exposures, right, and all the customizable information that you want to see on here. Mine is generally combinatorial. Of course, we don't have playoff schedules yet, so you can't see that as of yet. But we just recently added this draft optimizer. I'm gonna get, like I said, I'm gonna get into it a little bit more with a video over the weekend. But you can set your target rates, you can set groups and stacking and stuff like that, and so it will recommend to you based on your targets who you should be drafting. So JSN is the top ranked guy for me. I find it kind of interesting how insanely good Jackson Smith and Jigba has been this year. I find the first round pretty fascinating, actually. CMC is a guy I'm pulling from to get exposure onto other guys here in the first round. Not a surprise, right? But I think we finally saw a talent, performance level drop off from Christian McCaffrey. The volume was still there, but I don't suspect it will always be. GM Scotchy Miles says 2 years ago, Derrick Henry was a 5th, 6th round pick. You're at great point. There's value trickled all throughout these drafts, right? Yeah, exactly. This is very much true. We don't want to be completely risk averse by any stretch of the imagination. We need to hit home runs because there's going to be big home runs in the big board. But you also don't. There's like it's this never-ending push-pull, this line you're trying to toe of like, Will Fuller clearly, right, had upside, but like Will Fuller hadn't been heard from in a long time, right? This is like a Joe Mixon. A little bit different. Will Fuller was kind of like still in his prime and all that. But like a Joe Mixon is like, is there really any reason to draft a guy who just like may never play football again? We haven't heard from. They're not giving us positive updates now. Still, to this day, when like there's just like a bunch of running backs that are gonna, Versailles likes Javonte, right? Javonte is a free agent. I think if you put a gun to my head, I would say Javonte ends up back with the Dallas Cowboys. If you think that is the case, you probably really like the Javonte price. Maybe you like somebody else that might end up with the Dallas Cowboys. There's right. Tyler Algier is a free agent. I just talked about some of the Braylon Allens and Jordan James and I quite like a Ray Davis again or whatever, right? There's like a bunch of guys that you can draft that can pop in this. And so balancing, let's see, Bowers is top by ADP and top by my ranking. So let's just stay true to the ranks here. But like, do I need to take on that level of risk for Joe Mixon when the upside is like, there's all these other guys that don't have that. Like, I know they're going to play football in 2026 type stuff. And I'm not saying we should have been able to see the Will Fuller thing coming, but at a certain point, you do want to start to consider the risk. Risk reward is always something we should be considering, but especially right now with such a lack of information, I'm trying to be cognizant about that stuff. Let's see. Any JSN hesitancy if Kubiak leaves? Possibly like a little bit, but I think I think there would be more fragility to the expectations, right? The projection for JSN if Kubiak takes one of these head coaching jobs. Does that mean Jackson Smith and Jigba is all of a sudden not an absolute stone cold superstar that's going to be the focal point in their offense? No. Is he going to have the highest target share in the league? That would remain to be seen, right? It would be like, I know he's still a superstar. So I have AJ Brown here. ADP has, we'll go back to AJ Brown. Speaking of offensive coordinator changes, there would be hesitancy in just like a lack of understanding for what to ultimately expect, like how many targets is he going to get? But I also think there's just the Seahawks defense was so good. They were so run heavy this year. That's the thing about Kubiak that I think gets lost a little bit. He is pretty run heavy, and they have every reason to be with their defense and their run game and all that kind of stuff. But it could also set up for just more passing volume that could offset the JSN thing. So he's not a player. There's not a lot of players. This is maybe growth in my best ball game. There's not a lot of players. I'm very specific about taking like fade positions on early round players now. Even guys that I don't want to have like the full 8% of, right? I'm still being I'm being pickier and pickier sort of every year about how I would kind of, I was a gunslinger when we started Spike Week, right? Like, I'm fading 5 first rounders and 6 second rounders. And I think you can play the game in any which way. If that's more fun to you, it's certainly higher upside to take mega stands, right? Because if you hit these big stands and you hit the right players, you have many more bullets, many more shots on goal. But also, I also don't think it's super necessary. But I do still think you need to, right? This idea that you can just draft 8% of everyone, I think, is also very flawed. And so we need to meet somewhere in the middle, I think. And I think I've gotten a little bit better at that. But like, just generally speaking, someone like a JSN, right? So even you might have Amon-Ra concerns or CeeDee Lamb concerns, Jahmyr Gibbs concern, whatever. When you're that good of a player and you're young and you're in your prime, right? Like, I don't regret a single Malik Neighbors click last year. I don't regret a single Drake London click last year. Jonathan Taylor flamed out. I was well overweight Jonathan Taylor. I don't regret drafting Jahmyr Gibbs, even though he flamed out in the playoffs. Right? I don't have those regrets. And I actually don't regret like taking a stance against certain guys that maybe didn't even work out. But being picky about those is something I think that I've changed a little bit. And then hammering where I think the edges are at the prices further down the board, especially in the big board. Let's see. Yeah, the Lamar price is crazy. Let's see here. So this is, I know I've set my target scat for 12%. So the optimizer is recommending him at the top. And I wasn't paying attention. And I auto Lamar. That's okay. But that's what you'll see here is I wanted to check that because I've set some of my target. I haven't set all my target rates. I haven't set all my rules and all that kind of stuff. That's why I didn't want to pull up too much here. But what it'll do, right? The optimizer will say, we're not telling you who to pick. You have to go in and you tell us who you like. How much of that player do you want? What kind of players do you want to pair them with? Do you want to stack? And you can put as many rules in and as many targets as you want, whatever. You can X out players, right? You can lock button players and say, give me this guy in every draft that I can possibly get him in. And then it'll update in, right? So like Scadaboo was not my highest ranked player, but I had him as the highest percentage target within that little ADP range. And it'll sort of help you achieve your goals that you set forth, right? We don't have all the answers. You have a way that you want to draft. It's probably different than the way that I want to draft. Maybe it's similar. You can use my rules too as soon as I get them done by this weekend. But it's just going to help you achieve your plans. And that's something that I've been honestly bad about. Honestly, very, very bad about. I think some of the plans that I wanted to achieve aren't always the best either. But I want to make sure that I actually implement them. You know what I mean? I don't think I have anybody here. It just has Harvey. You have Travion buried. Also, Harvey ahead of ADP seems questionable. Why do you think that seems questionable? I'm going to take RJ Harvey. Let's see. Holy cow, you have Travion buried. Yeah. I mean, I love Travion Henderson, the football player. He's a totally solid pick, but like, what specifically is going to change to like give him, Ramondre could get hurt again, but like, what specifically is going to change for Travion Henderson that is going to this is fine. Then so Jason says if Travion breaks a 50-yard touchdown in the Super Bowl, he'll go in the third. I mean, sure. What if Ramondre does? Sure. What if he continues to get like 5 touches? Like he's the 1B back in his offense next to another back who's a solid football player, who we have no reason to believe. Why would that change? Ramondre isn't, Joe Mixon. Ramondre is playing really well. They are going to the Super Bowl. Ramondre's young. They like him. He's under contract, So I just don't really see a reason to get out over my skis for Travion. I'm not going to make him a 0% player for me because he's just a really good young football player, and I don't want to take huge stance against that. But I think the price is just wrong. The price was all playoff best ball. Travion going way ahead of Ramondre was wrong. He's essentially the backup. Now he plays, right? He's not. This isn't like a Tank Bigsby level backup, but he's the back. He's the backup. Doesn't mean he won't have good games. He'll get more work next year during the regular season. But Ramondre is like, we can't just like close our eyes and pretend Ramondre is going somewhere. Whereas with RJ Harvey, J.K. Dobbins is a free agent. Julian McLaughlin did nothing to show anything, right? Tyler Bray. They probably bring somebody in, but everybody brings somebody in. The Patriots are going to bring somebody in to be the third back, because right now it's Dearness Johnson. It ain't going to be him next year. So I'm bullish on the Patriots. I'm bullish on the Broncos. Okay. See, this is I think I need to move. I think I need to move Lamar down a little bit, because I also might need to move Alec Pierce down a little bit if it's going to give me this much. Because what you'll see if I just go to the rankings. Oh, shoot. I meant to share the whole. Pardone. Let me share this instead. If I go over here, what you'll see, one of my biggest strategic takes about the big board is at quarterback. There is a pretty thin group of draftable quarterbacks. And those are like locked in starters, right? That's what I mean by these draftable guys. Locked in starters that you also are at least remotely interested in from a fantasy perspective. There's guys who are going to start, right? Kyler Murray's probably going to start somewhere. Tua might start somewhere. Kirk Cousins might start somewhere. Aaron Rodgers might be back. None of those guys are very exciting for fantasy. I can't believe I'm saying that about Kyler Murray, by the way. And so you'll see, as you see here within our rankings hub, where you can get all of our rankings for every sports site, whatever. Drafters rankings are out, by the way. Their early contest came out. You see a lot of quarterbacks ahead of ADP. So something that I'm trying to do is make sure I get. Do I need to do? Yeah, let's do Pearsall. He's a target. He probably showed up on the optimizer here. Make sure I get 2 good quarterbacks. I don't really care when I take them. Now I don't want to have like a million like Lamar plus whatever. Let's see, Lamar plus Drake May teams or something like that. I think that's a little bit overkill. But I'm making sure that I get 2 strong quarterbacks. If you would like to do 3, do 3. But I think what you'll find is the pool of draftable quarterbacks, and if a bunch of people want to get 3, it's very difficult for all of you to get 3 because there's 12 teams in every draft. That would be 36 quarterbacks if we all drafted 3. We don't have 30. We don't have 32. We don't have 30 locked in starters that we feel super comfortable with. So if everybody's getting 2, there's 24. That's about the amount of like locked in starting quarterbacks that we have. And so I'm just pushing a bunch of these quarterbacks that I like ahead of ADP, and then mixing and matching them, making sure I get my exposure to all of them while probably drafting mostly 2 quarterback teams. Good morning, Chris. Good morning. The Red Scare. Is that the quarterback? The quarterback stuff? Longhorn? He'll be second-year James White plus in a McDaniels offense. He already flashed this year and clearly struggled with the entire playbook, most of which should correct. So, I mean, dude, no one liked Travion Henderson more than me. He was like one of my poster boys for this season. He's a good football player. It was really fun those few weeks when he kind of had the backfield to himself. But I do not agree with the James White comp James White was out there because they had a running, right? James White would play with a LeGarrette Blount or someone like that. What's his name? Corey Dillon, right? Would play with those guys who came out on passing downs, and James White came in on passing downs. Right now, Ramondre Stevenson is better on passing down than TreVeyon Henderson. Doesn't mean that's exactly what will happen forever, but it does mean that I can get the little. We can get a. Let's see, here's an example of doing like 2 quarterbacks earlier than like I would probably normally do 2 quarterbacks, but you see how quickly it starts to get thin. Again, these are my rankings, but Matthew Stafford, Bo Nix, Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Malik Willis. Now we're already on to right. Mendoza, Baker, Shuck, Bryce, in the 140s and 150s. It's like, I really want to be reliant upon Bryce and Cam Ward and all that. So Purdy is another target for me. The loss of Kittle likely for the entire season is not great, but I mean, I think Shanny can just make magic. But again, as much as I love TreVeyon Henderson, it's just like James White is, and like if he's James White, why do we want that in the top 50 again or whatever? Like that, if the bull case is he's James White, I don't think that that's true from like what Ramondre is as a player and what TreVeyon is as a player. I think TreVeyon's best assets are actually as a runner and as a home run hitter and getting the ball in space and stuff like that. He's a good, really, really good football player. I love TreVeyon Henderson. We can't just say I really like this player, thus we got to hammer him and rank him in a way that makes me, mega overweight on the guy. I don't think that that's Let's do my guy Emmett Johnson here. My RB2 in the class. I'm not going to get too crazy deep on the rookie rankings. They're coming out, and I promise we'll be having lots of rookie content coming out. But Emmett Johnson is my running back 2 behind, of course, Jeremiah Love. Yeah, shout out to Jim. Shout out to Jim for being here live with us. But the Emmett Johnson Stan. I just meant my guy I have him as the running back 2 of the class. I'm with you on that. I know that you are the Emmett guy, okay? I'm trying to be kind because your Cornhuskers lost last night, though. That was an incredible effort by the Cornhuskers. The real basketball team of America's basketball team, the St. Louis Billikens, won last night on essentially a buzzer beater by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Incredible game. Of course, I was there. If I start getting raspy and, I'm hacking up some stuff or I just sound like shit, sound like more shit than I do normally, it's because I was at the SLU game screaming my ass off all game, getting very frustrated, by the way. Played bad for a lot of that game and come back and win a buzzer beater, unlike Nebraska could do. But it's a wonderful time. We're drafting big board teams. The St. Louis Billikens have only 1 loss on the season. Nebraska ball is a thing. Flyfish says, just an unfun reality we've arrived at rookie pricing that makes them not of value. I think that's it. I think there's an interesting thing. Pardon. See, this is the interesting thing specifically where I need to make sure that I'm going to do Surratt because it's not that I love Tajay, right? What you're going to see if I open this, see if it'll go to running backs. Not yet. But again, I'm trying to make sure I also remember the basic ass principles we talk about all summer, things like back to front drafting, right? All the cheesy cliches we use, but it's also very, very true. I'm like, whatever on Elijah Surratt, but you see here, I very much Emmett Johnson, Tajay, Tyler Algier, these guys ahead of ADP, but it really starts to get. I think that there's just a bunch of mispriced running backs later in these drafts, right? So I'm going to get a bunch of backs that I like. Receiver, if we look at receiver amongst the rankings, there's going to be guys, right? Unsurprisingly, Trey Harris here is a great target. I think 10 seconds. Dobbs is a free agent. Let's see. There's boring Romeo Dobbs. I don't think we need any more sort of chaperones. JSN, AJ Brown, Alec Pierce, Ricky Pearsall. Pearsall, again, is a pretty sizable target for me right now. Ayuk is definitely gone. We'll see what happens with Juwan. My expectation is that Juwan is back, but it's possible. It's certainly possible that he's not. Pearsall will definitely be back, and George Kittle's hurt, so Pearsall is a pretty big target for me right now. So I don't think, just really Surratt. There's certainly a good amount of variance with Alec Pierce, but I don't think I need any more kind of boring chaperone type wide receivers. But there's just not as many wide receivers later that I think are just like, oh man, this guy needs to be a 20 to 25% guy for me. If I go into the optimizer and I go right, if I go to right, so I have Trey Harris at 25%, Ryan Flanoy at 25% as targets. But you look, a lot of these other guys I haven't tweaked to the appropriate percentages, but they're like, I'm going to be 6% Io Manor or whatever, like 4% Mooney. These guys are going to be not zeros, but not targets either. So there's just not as many of those wide receivers later. So I'm trying to make sure to keep that in mind in these drafts. Yeah, San Fran basically going to be forced to re-sign Jennings. Says 5. It would be shocking. It would be shocking if they didn't. That's for sure. I apologize. I'm trying to keep up with the chat. I apologize. How do you feel about Michael Pittman Jr. likely being released? Could this be good for his fantasy value? I'm drafting. Okay, now I got it. Oh no. See, this is. I'm gonna do Tajay. Part of my Tajay is he came on pretty nice again down the stretch. I've always really liked him as the player. It's not a lock that Pollard is back. It's not a lock with the new regime, one in which I like Robert Saleh and Brian Daboll. Don't at me. I understand. It's a polarizing coaching group. Second year Cam Ward with Brian Daboll. I could see this Tajay sort of just taking over. And again, he feels like a guy with really nothing but upside. I feel good about he's a good player. I feel good about I'm not getting certainly zeros from him. And there's a significant amount of upside that he's just like the man in the backfield. Let's see. Okay. He's right. So you see, look at my rankings. We have Trey Harris here, and then just a whole boatload of. I know Isaiah Likely is a free agent. I'm not drafting him. I just wanted to be clear. I'm not drafting him because I want to stack him with Lamar. Isaiah Likely is a free agent. But not a lot of stacking options with Lamar. Don't think it's mandatory by any stretch of the imagination. If Likely comes back, great. If he doesn't, probably even better for him if he does not come back. Yes, bingo. At least with the Titans and Daboll, you can squint and see the vision. I don't particularly like the talent. I like Tajay's talent. I don't particularly like. I'm not a Cam Ward guy. Io Manor was frankly terrible. Chimere DK showed some flashes. But Calvin Ridley's hurt. Chig and Gunnar Helm, right? Like the talent that's on hand, offensive line's not that good. The talent that's on hand is not anything I'm excited about. But like you said, I can see there's at least something someone explain to me what the Miami Dolphins are doing, right? Like I don't, there is no vision to run this shit into the ground with a coach who couldn't win. Granted, it was Boston College, but couldn't win as a college coach. Wasn't all that freaking successful as a defensive coordinator with superstar talent. in Green Bay, and now I'm not saying Tua is good. I'm not saying Tua is a positive like asset, as a quarterback. But where's the upgrade? Malik Willis, I guess. So now you're gonna pay Tua and Malik Willis because nobody's taking on Tua. I can at least see something and say, okay, they're working on something, right? At least they're doing their homework. They're not upstairs. You hear them jumping around. The kids are doing their homework in Tennessee. Miami, they're not doing their homework, and they're very much planning to ditch school tomorrow. Let's see. Best Ballin, shout out. Welcome back. In 26, $2 after Moxie technically won our Hunter versus BTJ bet, though I think I won in spirit. Anti-Benson this year. I feel like Connor Dunn and Arizona adds to split or replace him. I like it. I think I have both Connor and Benson ahead. Gonna go get Braylon now. I think that he was closer to. I think I need to move Braylon up a little bit. These are also the things you'll see during big board season of like getting in the drafts, you're under the gun, and you're like, damn, I have Braylon ranked 3 spots after this guy, and I think I should click Braylon. You can't replace the like gut under the gun gut takes, and at the end of the day, that's like the ultimate tiebreaker. People, how do you know? How you like these guys similar? How do you break ties? Honestly, my gut, right? Do you like Kamani Vidal better or Braylon Allen? Like, well, I just got on the clock and I picked up Braylon Allen over Kamani Vidal. Did somebody take Flanoy? And of course, I should have just done Harris. Okay, Flanoy is not gone. But let's do Jordan Mason. Another target. And again, there's so many of these guys that I like Vidal. God damn it. Brooks and Trey Harris taken away from me. I could see the case for the two spot took J.K. Dobbins. I can see the case for J.K. Dobbins very, very clearly. Dylan Sampson, I think, is a good pick. I'm not super duper into Nick Singleton, right? But I feel talented rookie from Penn State. Sean, there's so many backs back here, whereas the wide receivers, A.D. Mitchell mentioned I like Trey Harris, I like Ryan Flanoy. But I don't know, man. Troy Franklin, fine. Tank Dell, fine. Deebo Samuel, is it even fine, right? Josh Downs, Tyreek Hill. Travis Hunter is all the recent reporting is he's going to primarily play corner. With a package of offensive plays. That doesn't mean much necessarily, but damn it. This is why you don't stream. It's my first big board, and you fuckers wouldn't even let me get Trey Harris, who I have ranked at 122 overall, 85 spots ahead of ADP, and I couldn't even get him in this draft. Shout out to you. Best Ballin. Also, thank you for very much appreciate the super chat, and welcome back, brother. I like Dylan Sampson a lot too. Tough injury for Judkins. Exactly. Tough injury for Judkins. And there, I think there's a floor. I think it's, new regime. So what they hired, who did they just hire? Monken in Cleveland. So let's say take that for whatever it's worth. I'm not going to sit here and try to cape for Todd Monken, but there's, again, very, very, very low risk. I'm going to take, speaking of another, I understand it's not very fun, but Devon Vele is almost assuredly going to be the wide receiver 2 with the Saints, who were kind of good, not bad to end the season. Chris Olave is great. Juwan Johnson is a solid football player, but there's a lot of opportunity in New Orleans. I don't think Devon Vele is all that good, but right. Didn't think Michael Wilson was all that good last year either. Didn't know that Alec Pierce was going to absolutely destroy souls in Indianapolis. Even with Riley Leonard, he's out there catching bombs, right? Against the Texans, he's cooking the Texans. You know, Devon Vele at least he's still young. What is he, 29? 28, 29, something like that. I want to make sure I mix some of those guys in and don't turn myself into the full-blown. I haven't been very good at the big board because I would very frequently just go straight rookie, right? Rookie, young guy, spending spree, if you will. So I have Ray Davis up next here. That's probably who this, yeah. Probably what the old optimizer is telling me. I have him at a target of 25%. Ray Davis, man. I understand the Bills thing is funky, you know, with all the Ty Johnson and everything that they've used. But when Ty Johnson was hurt, Ray Davis ended up filling in as the passing down back. They still don't trust James Cook. James Cook couldn't pass protect my mother. They don't trust him in the passing game. Ray Davis actually picked up that role. And then when James Cook goes out, Ray Davis actually fills in as the lead runner. So he has this weird duality to his contingent value. And I think it's possible he just gets some more work. It is still the same offensive coordinator, but that's actually like sneaky kind of good for Ray Davis, specifically from a contingent value perspective. Something happens to James Cook, Ray Davis is just a smash. He's just a smash. And I understand nothing has happened to James Cook, but anybody can get hurt. Yeah, Monken, thank you. Who Hames, Jason Short likes Dylan Sampson too. I'm with you. I like it. Any playoff teams for the Super Bowl? Nope. And didn't have any live Seattle, New England. Got a handful of runner-up trophies that I can go try to, speaking of trying to deposit CLV at the bank, I can go try to deposit some of this at the bank. Let's do Noel. I kind of like the blending of wide receivers, though. Noel, right? Kind of like some youthful Surratt, Noel. You know, Alec Pierce is a pretty hefty price. You're betting on him to continue kind of becoming better. AJ Brown bounce back, right? A little bit of murkiness in JSN. So you mix in some of these Devon Vele's and Romeo Dobbs's, right, of the world. I think Pearsall's a little bit of a combination floor ceiling play, both between Ricky. But I kind of like that sort of blending. That's also something that, again, within the optimizer that we're building, you can put these groups together and say, like, okay, if I drafted Jeremiah Love, if I drafted a rookie, right, specifically is the easiest example, I want to make sure I get a couple of guys, right? You create these groups. It's like I drafted Jeremiah Love. We always talk about, like, okay, I need to probably get some, you know, this is a great Javonte team, right? This is a great whoever. This is a great Jalen Warren team. This is a great James Conner team. This whatever. This is a great Ramondre Stevenson team. You can create those groups, and, like, instead of like having to remember all this shit on the fly, it's just because, remember you said you like drafting these kind of running backs when you drafted Jeremiah Love. Just remember that. Like, here, look at, just remember here's the list of the guys that you said you like drafting with Jeremiah Love. The most beautiful thing, though, if we're being totally honest, the most beautiful thing about the big board is we can draft 8 wide receivers and 8 running backs. Let's do Taj instead of Chris Rodriguez. I think there's enough. Harvey, like, Chris Rodriguez is, you know, never going to be an absolute mega smash, but I think he can be a nice little piece. Maybe this team does need a Harvey on it, Harvey, Rodriguez on it. Probably because it has Harvey. Would need a Rodriguez type on it. Let's see. But no, didn't make any Super Bowls. Tied my which is crazy. What's really unfortunate. I feel like I had a decent plan of attack. Draft a bunch of double buys, meaning Seattle and Denver. I feel honestly pretty good about that. I faded the 49ers. I faded the Bills. And I mostly targeted Jaguars, Patriots, Broncos, and then Seattle, Rams, and Eagles. Wah, wah, wah. With a lot of Bears, right? I didn't really draft the Packers. I drafted the Bears. I feel like it was like, okay, I just didn't too much Eagles, too much Jags. A lot of my teams had those guys. So even if I had like Seattle, Denver, Super Bowls, right, I would have a bunch of Bears, a bunch of Jags, a bunch of whatever, and it just sort of flamed out. Probably didn't play it. I definitely didn't play it perfectly. That's for sure. That will never happen. But I think I probably could have played it a little bit better. Dude, Ryan Flanoy is legit good. George Pickens is not officially a Dallas Cowboy yet. And Flanoy was doing stuff next to those guys. I think he's easily earned the wide receiver 3 role with the Dallas Cowboys. Like the Jalen Tolbert stuff, see ya, brother. Right? Kavontae Turpin is a fun little gadget. But he, I don't really get what's going on with the Flanoy price, but we got to keep enjoying it for now. Ooh. If you're the Titans GM, which rookie wide receiver are you drafting? That is a good question. Okay, hold on. Jalen Wright, Devin Neal. Jalen, these are both disasters, but let's build a little Saints secondary thing here. As you saw, Devin Neal on the New Orleans Saints, Devon Vele on the New Orleans Saints. It's not a big deal, but just a little tiebreaker between Jalen Wright at 181, Devin Neal at 183, and so just use that as a little bit of a tiebreaker. I'm not done with all my rookie wide receiver stuff, so I don't want to say anything too crazy. I don't love this wide receiver class overall. I know I'm a little lower on Carnell Tate than everyone else is. He's a really good football player. I'm not sure that he's quite deserving of the pretty massive hype that he's getting. Let's do one more big board, by the way. Hold on, let me. Oh wow, only needs one. Let me send my. I guess I need this to get completed. Okay, it's completed. Send this over to the draft hacker, so you can get my exposures updating. If I had to pick one, I mean Jordan Tyson. So here's what I can tell you: Jordan Tyson is my wide receiver 1. Oh no. Jordan Tyson is my wide receiver 1. Mekhi Lemon is my wide receiver 2. Carnell Tate is my wide receiver trace. That's my slow draft, right? Yeah. Okay. The 110. Okay, that works. Get a little bit of a different spot here. Jordan Tyson or Mekhi Lemon, if you're taking a guy early, would be my guys. I haven't got super duper deep at the wide receiver position just yet. I have some concerns about size and archetype, but Skylar Bell, I think, is a really fun player from UConn. Is there a little too much overlap with someone like him and Chimere DK? Possibly. But he was a really good football player, certainly this year, but I think also last year. But if I'm going early wide receiver, I would take Jordan Tyson Then I would take Mekhi Lemon. Then I would take Carnell Tate for the Titans. Good morning. Good morning. Are we back in on Kendre? Yeah. I mean, I have him and Devin Neal right next to each other, I believe. So I think that they're both totally draftable. I'm gonna draft both of them. I'm gonna draft. Obviously, I drafted Devin Neal there. I'm gonna draft both Kendre and Devin Neal because I think Kendre was the winner, right, to start, and then Devin Neal came on and was fine down the stretch. Alvin Kamara is completely cooked, but I like the offense, right? I want shots on the running back in this offense and the non-Alvin Kamara running backs. So I'm going to take shots on Devin Neal and Kendre Miller both. Yeah, and Njoku and Hawkinson are very, very cheap. Longhorn says, I'm intrigued by your Jordan James and Taj Brook rankings. Like them last year. Guess the bet is they didn't do anything because guys in front stayed healthy, and if that changes, they smash. Yeah, so a lot of the times, the royal we, stick to the ranks, I guess. Right, well, right up, just because you don't do anything in that first rookie season, especially at running back, especially as a mid to late round running back, will be like, it's over. So they're both a little bit different situations, but essentially but by doing nothing other than continuing to improve, impress, whatever. Now I'm going to take JJ, Drake London, and Justin Jefferson. Imagine last year getting by the end of the draft season when London was going at like the 1-2 turn, getting Justin Jefferson and Drake London. You'd send the screenshot, right? You post the screenshot on Twitter. You get a 46 likes, right? There's about 7 real likes, but you get all the bots, all the people drafting that are terminally online like the rest of us. You would have got a bunch of engagement on that JJ London team. And now you can have it anytime that you would like. But Jordan James right now projects to be the backup running back to Christian McCaffrey. Brian Robinson is a free agent, and he has passed Isaac Garendo. He had passed him during this season. Isaac Garendo is like a nothing. He's Trey Sermon or whatever to the San Francisco 49ers. They don't care. They're done with him. Whereas Taj Brooks, right? These are the guys that they can easily just get replaced by someone else for sure. But welcome to cheap running backs. The upside is these backfields are so valuable. The 49ers backfield is so valuable. The Bengals backfield is so valuable. Second-year players, this is a great time for them to take a leap. He was injured as a rookie, but Kyron Williams in his second year was the big breakout. This happens a lot. The nuances of learning the running back position, especially in pass protection, blitz pickup, understand route running, right? Reading defenses, being on the same page with your quarterback, being on the same page with their offensive line. It's a little trickier than we tend to think sometimes. And so I'm willing to still take shots on these backs that I liked their profile and they're in a potentially advantageous situation. It's very possible that they completely get wiped out, right? But again, these are 17th round draft picks in January at the running back position. That is how it goes. But those are also the potential huge winners that you just get, right? CMC's backup whenever you want in the 18th round or whatever it is. And I like to take shots on those guys. There's so many of those types of guys, from like pick 100 on, there's just so many from the guys I drafted there. This past draft sort of mentioned Tyler Algier. He is a free agent. It looks like a very good bet to, land in a really good spot and just be way underpriced. I want to get but there's a bunch of those guys. So I'm spreading out those chips. The rankings can't really capture the fact that I'm like, I really like these guys more than their ADP, but there's 20 guys that I really like more than their ADP, Yeah, I know I'm making a great case for Travion. And if those other guys were priced like Travion, I wouldn't draft them either. Right? I like Travion Henderson, but like, I don't know. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills if we're gonna like. Do we just not see what? Are we not watching what's happening with Ramondre Stevenson? Oof. T. All right, let's do Garrett. That's another thing I do think that's interesting, though, just like on the Travion stuff, is separating. I think Travion's going to get better. I love the football player. I loved the prospect, right? Speaking of RB2s, he was my RB2 behind Genty last year. I feel good about that. And I'm really excited. You know, if I started a Madden, which I don't get Madden anymore. I play NBA 2K, FIFA, and the Harry Potter video game. MLB The Show. I'll get MLB The Show. What I wonder what this is going to tell me. Oh wow, interesting. It's actually telling me Kyron because I have him at 8%. Let's do level up. Let's do level up. That's interesting. So see, I haven't set all my. So this is an interesting little situation that pops up where I don't really like Kyron. I have him ranked behind here. But if I say, even though you have him ranked here, right? What the optimizer can tell you, even though you have him ranked here, you say you want 8%. He's the top guy by ADP. He's past ADP. You should probably draft him if your goal actually is to get to 8% of this guy. Now, as I mentioned, all my target rates are not updated. I've been sort of bouncing around, finding the guys that I want to be overweight on. I don't want to be at 8% Kyron Williams, but if I did, it would have been very foolish of me to pass on him there just because of where I had him ranked. Let's see. Yeah, definitely. Whoever the Jordan James. If you were looking for the way too early Will Shipley, it's definitely Jordan James. I'm not even gonna hide it. Okay, so this is never gonna work. Jordan James is the San Francisco 49ers it's actually gonna work for the first drive of the 49er season. Like he's gonna come in on play 3, have a 15-yard carry. Everything that we're gonna say is like they're really gonna keep CMC's volume in check this year. Jordan James is the RB2. They really like him. He was a really fun right? All this bullshit that we use, right? It's gonna be right. And then he's going to get hurt he's going to be returning kicks. He's going to get a concussion on the kick return, and they're going to trade for fucking J.K. Dobbins or whatever and bring him in, and he's going to be the backup running back. That's what's going to happen with Jordan James because he will get that treatment for sure. It's so funny that we've been talking about Jordan James, and J Life was on the same wavelength also, like Jordan James. Does Jaden Blue get any run next year? Look, I was the most vehemently anti-Jaden Blue person ever. But I do have him in the ranks this year. It's a very fluid situation. So the Cowboys backfield so Javonte is a free agent. The thing about Jaden Blue that we have to remember is Malik Davis was actually the backup and quite frankly played really well. And I do think that stuff matters a little bit in Dallas with Jerry. Shoddy is back. Right. They're trying to win a Super Bowl and stuff. They're not fucking around with, if you're a young guy, right? Dak's not getting any younger. They got this core potentially of Pickens back with Dak, CD, right? Pickens, whatever, Ferg. Defense is not that great. They're not going to mess around, I don't think, too much if Jaden Blue can't play. But I do think it's very possible that in a short time, we're like, oh yeah, we need to be drafting Jaden Blue. But it's also possible like they bring Javonte and Malik Davis back, or they sign Malik Davis and J.K. Dobbins, or Tyler Algier, or Rico Dowdle comes back, right, or whatever, and we're like, oh, nope, Jaden Blue, not a thing. But again, it's also possible that he is. So it's hard to say. Does he get any run? I can't say for sure because, I mean, he's a Dallas Cowboy, and the guys like Javonte and Malik are not currently Dallas Cowboys, but that doesn't mean they won't be, and it doesn't mean other guys won't end up being. I agree. Oh shoot. Ooh, Terry, nice. See, I think that the Terry price is absurd. So we're going to draft Terry. Is that what it says? No, of course it says Cardinal Tate because of ADP. Where? This is interesting. Speaking of the quarterback thing we were talking about before, this is a pretty good quarterback zone. And I can do Caleb and build out, right? I have Loveland. So Caleb, Loveland stack, or I can do Jaden Daniels. Let's do Caleb. Let's put him in the queue first. Yeah, let's do Caleb. Sorry, I'm reading. Do you see McDaniel's departure from Miami having a substantial effect on Achane in particular? So I have Achane ranked after ADP. Let me go look and see where it is exactly. So I have him 17th overall. So this is the thing about I'm actually higher on Saquon, which feels funny. But that's the thing with Achane is, and people will say this all the time, why do you hate him? I'm like, he's my 17th overall player. I don't hate him. But I'm very worried about Miami. I'm not putting Achane at my 30th overall player or something like that. But like he's an incredible football player. But we would be absolutely stone cold lying to our own face if we said that the way Mike McDaniel utilized him and the way Mike McDaniel schemes up a run game and the way Tua can't throw the ball downfield, so they really used Achane in unique ways in the passing game. If that isn't going to change under this total freaking boomer, like disaster head coach hire that Miami's made, possibly with a new quarterback. Who is that new quarterback? Right? If it's Malik Willis, is one thing. If it's Jacoby Brissett, it's another. If it's Quinn Ewers, it's another, right? If it's Tua again, it's different. I'm very worried. Aren't you worried about Devon Achane? The answer for me is yes. I am very worried. No Beimfohr draft will feel complete without a Shipley pick. We got to play the hits. Shipley is in my top 250 somewhere, but it's like 240 something, I think. Because come on, we can't let him go. I heard Golden was dealing with injuries this past year. He's a year 2 wide receiver. I'm buying lots of in the 10th round. I think Golden is fine in the 10th. Yeah, I don't really like him very much. I actually find the Matthew Golden situations both easier and more difficult for me personally. It reminds me very much of the Keon situation. And I think I misplayed the Keon situation last year a little bit, where I was fully out on Matthew Golden as a prospect, just like I was fully out on Keon Coleman as a prospect. And then with Keon, got information that he's just not that good, right? I didn't think he was good as a prospect, and he comes into the NFL and he essentially proves it. However, pardon. I really like Justin Herbert. You have to take Justin Herbert at this cost. What the hell, guys? Wow. But again, there's so many quarterbacks. This range I do like a decent bit for, as I mentioned Pearsall and such. But it's not so incredible that you can't kind of double tap quarterback from within here. I'm filibustering because I really want these two people to make their picks, because there's one particular individual who I would really like, and it might not actually be who you think it is. Pearsall goes anyway. Damn it. Tootin, such a good fit on this team. Son of a... I'll bring Kyle into my Bear stack. Damn it, man. Menungai is fine, but Tootin is... Damn it. But so Golden, right? Prospect I liked, that showed me a lot. Tootin prospect I like that showed me a lot. Clearly, those are situations where you feel like you want to keep buying. Matthew Golden, right, and Keon Coleman, the kind of the pre-Golden, was like, I hated this guy. He sucked. But then the market gives you a price, right? You can convince yourself of anything. Oh, he was hurt. Oh, rookies take time. Oh, whatever. And that's not wrong. So how do you balance this, like basically making excuses for the poor play, which is what we did with Keon, what we'll have to do with Matthew Golden because the play was poor. We'll make excuses for it, and then we'll say, well, it's a year 2 first-round wide receiver, whatever. It's like, yeah, but what, if you loved Matthew Golden, it's a lot easier to just keep buying. If you didn't like Matthew Golden, you got this new information that says, like, buddy, you were right. This dude stinks. But at what price do you say, like Keon last year, pick 100 or whatever, to the same Matthew Golden point? I was like, look, I could be wrong about this. He's going to run every route with Josh Allen. I think you should just click that button. And I did. And I got buried for it, right? Because I didn't trust my player evaluation. But sometimes your player evaluation, right? My player evaluation on Michael Wilson could not have been worse. Nailed Keon Coleman, could not have been worse on Michael Wilson. So how do you balance those things, right? That someone might say, well, just draft 8% of all of those guys. Maybe that is right, but maybe it's not. And Matthew Golden's in that bucket for me that I'm still trying to figure out for this year. Definitely. I agree. Tootin is a better prize. He's a bigger ribbon than Kyle Monangai, but I'll take the consolation prize. This is still to this day, Warehouse says, I got 3 words for you. Which also reminds me of, I got 2 words for you. Suck it. We are running a Royal Rumble pool. My man, Rob Coakley. If you're in the Discord, you can also be just free. You don't have to be a subscriber, but within the Discord, go to the general channel and you'll see that Rob is running a Royal Rumble pool, which I think he still needs some spots to fill for this weekend. But those, I will never forget the Brian Schottenheimer team, Hunter Lepke, baller. I will never, ever, ever forget it. On HN, HN is Unicorn 9 archetype had so much Keaton Blue, Harvey Keaton, blah, blah, blah. These dudes just struggled to earn roles unless draft capital. Like, yeah, I do think HN is a phenomenal real life football player. But we did Emmett last time, right? Let's do Algier. I think he's also this is another one of those where, like, if I don't have, if my RB1 is Kyle Monangai, the types of running backs I want to mix in those teams changes a little bit, right? Let's actually do Jalen Coker here. Skip Jim's Emmett Johnson, Jim's boy, Emmett Johnson. Skip Tyjae this time and get a little bit of Jalen Coker. With Cousins seemingly cut, do you have him ranked at all? Seems like that's a very good question. If he is, he's buried. No, I do not have Kirk Cousins ranked. I think it's reasonable. But I kind of talked about it before with the quarterback stuff. I am less interested in these like kind of dusty late round quarterbacks that you're just drafting because, like, the cabal told you have to draft 3 quarterbacks, or you don't know what, you don't feel comfortable with Jordan James. You don't feel comfortable with Devin Neal. You don't feel right. You don't like any of those guys. You're like, I'm just going to draft the quarterbacks. I think that's understandable. But my approach is to get 2 just like really solid ones, right? Caleb Williams, Justin Herbert. We're good. I don't have to fuck around with Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins and Jacoby Brissett and Geno Smith and like all these like speculative guys. Malik Willis is basically the one. If he's Neo, Malik Willis, basically the one guy that I'm gonna get overweight on, like from that sort of cohort. But you could quickly understand why. The fantasy upside of Malik Willis is like very, very, very real. This is like everything we hoped Justin Fields would be. He's he's better than Justin Fields, like quite significantly, I think. And so that's one of the guys that I'm not. That's why you'll see reflected in the rankings. Like I don't even have some of those guys ranked that other people probably do have ranked, but it's just a little bit of a difference of approach of how to approach the quarterback position. Pretty incredible that Tootin did nothing this year and his price went up. So what I would say is Tootin did a lot when he was on the field. He impressed a lot, and Travis Etienne is a free agent. So, right, the assumption is that Travis Etienne is gone. Bashal Tootin becomes like the lead back in Jacksonville, and he showed that he was good when he was on the field. So I wouldn't say did nothing. Like, I'm trying to think of someone who like Will Shipley did nothing. Like literally did nothing. Bashal Tootin showed a lot when he was on the field. He just missed some time, and of course, ultimately played behind Travis Etienne. But like even in the playoff game, was getting some work. Had the same deal with Golden and Higgins. These dudes suck, but got draft capital, so I got to capitulate, right? And that's it. Like, how can Tajay comes all the way back here? Look, here's what's happening. I know I'm gonna ruin his ADP, but because I'm in this draft with you guys, I'm taking Trey Harris because we're not letting this bullshit go on any longer. But I have Justin Herbert, so yes, we reached. I just didn't want to forget and screw this up. Okay, back to Tajay. It is, I guess. Yeah. So just on the capitulation thing, right? Like, I wish I could sit here. I actually I don't wish this because this would be such an arrogant thing to say. That if I really sat here and I said, "Here's exactly how this is the right way to handle these situations," I would be lying, right? Like everyone would be. If you are convicted that a player's not good, but the NFL disagrees with you, what do? Because if you're right, you're going to feel very foolish. I didn't trust myself. I knew Matthew Golden sucked. I knew he sucked. And I still drafted 10% because he was a first-round pick. He was really cheap in best ball drafts for a first-round pick. Right? Keon. It's like, who else is going to catch the ball for the Bills? Right? We say all the same bullshit. It's like he's second-year breakout. Who else? He can score touchdowns. He's got Josh Allen. It's like, it doesn't. Brandon Cooks took his job, dude. Tyrell Shavers. That's how bad he is. These guys took his job. Then they ran him over with the bus. They threw him under that bus. The owner and the GM ran over him with the bus. They tossed him under there, ran back. Somebody grabbed him out, tossed him down the road again. They ran him over again. It was just a disaster. And so, like, if you full-flated him because you said, this dude is not a good football player. That was my belief of him as a college football player. Were you wrong? No, you were right. But you're going to have other situations where you're wrong too. And it's like, how much do you press that player take potential edge, knowing that it's not always an edge? Sometimes it's a huge flaw in your game in a particular season. He's CeeDee Lamb's cousin. That's really good. Yeah, the Bills owner just straight, dude. That was the Bills. I can't believe what has happened with the Bills this offseason. I really thought Sean McDermott was kind of a bad head football coach. Like, certainly not the worst. You guys get it. Nuance, context. I did not foresee the Buffalo Bills making me into a Sean McDermott apologist. The way that owner spoke at that, the way that owner has operated since, that loss to the Broncos is complete and utter ignorance. Promoting the guy who put together the team, blaming the coaching, and then hiring the offensive coordinator, right? We needed a change. So you hired the same guy who's been running the offense. And I'm not saying Joe Brady's bad. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I don't know. But you put Brandon Beane in charge, and he built the whole roster. He's the one who has built a team that was incapable of winning despite having Josh Allen for these last however many years. He built it. Crazy. Yeah, this is always so true. You got to remember, Bernie says, shout out to B. Kurt, it only takes one NFL team to like these guys. Maybe 25 hate them. We'll never know. That's the thing. It's like people always say, well, I could not agree more. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people will say, well, but the NFL liked him. It's like, no, the Green Bay Packers liked him. And I'm not, maybe the NFL did. The Buffalo Bills liked Keon Coleman. Right. That's an even funnier part of them trying to say Brandon Beane had nothing to do with this. And then everybody, the internet never misses in these situations. If the receipts are there, they will get found and you will get exposed for lying. So just don't fucking lie. There's no reason to lie. Just take your L, right? Here we go. Kamani Vidal. Good fit. Great fit. Chargers.com. So we got Caleb and Herbert at quarterback, Kyle Monangai, Tyler Algier, Tyjae Spears, and Kamani Vidal at running back, Drake London, Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin, Jalen Coker, and Trey Harris with Colston Loveland at tight end. Trying to think here. Let's do Samson. We did Jordan Mason last time. Let's do Samson. So we add Dylan Simpson. I think both of those guys would have been fine on this particular running back room. Again, this is a great use case for our groups that we have built into this optimizer, and something I'm gonna be working on the next few days. Are we 100% sure that Beane built the whole roster without McNuggets? Well, no, of course not. We're never 100% sure of really anything that goes on in an NFL front office because we don't. How could we be? We're not there, and they have no reason to tell us, right? Unless it benefits them, and then sometimes they lie. So no, of course not. And I would assume every head coach at least has some say, but it's his job. He was the general manager. His responsibility is to put together the roster, and he failed. And so to blame the coaching and then to blame the guy that the GM drafted that was boasting about being excited that he ran slow so they had a better chance to get him, right? Like that clip is out there. And I'm just all the way out on the Beane experience. That's a funny phrase. Somebody said something. Oh, Addison. Yeah, Addison is an interesting one. I don't think Addison is as good as the average person does. He's clearly a good NFL wide receiver, but I don't think he's as good as maybe some other people seem to think. I don't think you want, he could, the point was he could be a wide receiver one on some other teams. Like he would have been the wide receiver one in the Browns last year, but that's more of a sentiment about the teammates being bad than Jordan Addison being a wide receiver one caliber. He is definitely not that. He's definitely one of the bigger, as someone said, knuckleheads in the NFL, and he's tied to JJ McCarthy, which we just saw how disastrous that went. Now, I don't think that the level of risk is going to be as bad with the Vikings offense as it was last year, because I think that they'll pull the plug on JJ McCarthy if it goes as poorly, and I think they'll have better backup plans than what they had last year. But we'll see. We'll see. What are your thoughts on the Commanders' backfield? So hold on. Okay, now I'm going to make sure I get Flanoy here. Well, I think they're a very prime candidate. So Austin Eckler is a free agent and probably career. Over, obviously, they got rid of Brian Robinson. Jeremy McNichols is a free agent. Obviously, old Ja'Cory Krusky, aka Bill, will be back with the team, and Chris Rodriguez will also be back with the team. But I don't think, especially now without Cliff Kingsbury, I think it's going to be a new offensive scheme, I would assume. I don't assume they're going to keep Cliff's scheme without Cliff there. It's possible, but I don't expect it. And so, hold on. I'll do TJ Hawkinson. Get a little, we have Justin Jefferson. So I don't have to invest in JJ McCarthy or any Vikings running back to still benefit from JJ McCarthy becoming better or the Vikings situation becoming better, right? You can just draft Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Addison, like we were talking about before, the running backs. You can draft those guys and still benefit from that without having to draft the quarterback. I have two good quarterbacks. If I had JJ McCarthy on this team, who cares? Doesn't really matter that much. But my suspicion is Bill, Chris Rodriguez, plus one or two more guys. Is it? Yeah. I think Best Ballin in the chat mentioned Jeremiah Love. Is it Jeremiah Love? Is it Tyler Algier? Is it Breece Hall? Or is it Rico Dowdle or someone like that? I don't have the slightest idea. But they're in the draft and free agency, one of the biggest backfields to watch, I would say. And it's a solid free agent running back class. Let's see. Can you speak on Monungai and Corum? I see people claim they are way overpriced RB2s, but what running backs after them do you expect to be a starter? Hell, Corum out-touched Kyron last week. Yeah. So this is not me. I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone else, but just to use the way that you say you're seeing people claim that they're running back twos. I think that is either intentionally or unintentionally disingenuous way to label something, right? We'll say wide receiver one. It's like, well, Jackson Smith-Njigba is a wide receiver one, and like Isaiah Bond ended the season as a wide receiver one. Those are not the same thing. Being first on the depth chart doesn't make you all this, right? Being second on the depth chart is not the same. They're not the same across the board, right? Tank Bigsby is an RB2. Kyle Monungai is like a 1B. Is a split backfield, right? Like Kenny Gainwell was the RB2 to Jaylen Warren, and they plenty of weeks Kenny Gainwell out-touched them. Blake Corum ate into Kyron Williams' role this year. This is not just a backup, right? And that RB2 sort of implies that, but this is not, whoever has been playing behind CMC for years, right? This is not that kind of a situation. This is like a 1A, 1B. And then specifically on these two, they're on really high value offenses. And these two have profiles, and Monungai proved it this year that when DeAndre Swift missed his time, he's a smash. Right now, he got a good matchup, but he went for freaking 40 fantasy points or whatever it was. There's this weird like standalone value plus contingent value plus like elite offense that we're paying for, plus like talented young player, right? So they kind of check all of those boxes. So while they are technically RB2s, I don't think that's right. Tony Pollard was once an RB2 on the Dallas Cowboys and outscored Zeke, and Zeke only missed a couple of games, right? So gotta do Jordan James. If Jordan James is the new Will Shipley, and I'm going to be able to, and you guys aren't going to take him from me in round, what is this, round 10? Round 10. Round 17. I meant to say, I don't pick 200, and somehow round 10 came out of my mouth. I'm starting to lose my voice, I think. I was yelling very loudly last night. Okay. Who do we have in this one? Manungai, Algier, Taije, Kamani, Vidal. Let's do a boring ass name, but who is also a free agent, and I think could land in one of these spots where we are grossed out, but he's like a starter. Brian Robinson. Doesn't Brian Robinson just reek of, God damn it, do we really got to draft him, in May or whatever? We're like, shit. Well, he's the starting running back on the insert team here, right? Brian Robinson's the starting running. He's the RB1, right? To use that one. Brian Robinson is the RB1. But I could kind of use that kind of situation on this team. Through 18 rounds. We got 2 more. Again, I'm probably going to, we built 0-ish RB teams here, which aren't going to be, he reeks of, goddamn it. That's a good way to put it. I definitely like, there's so many mid to late round running backs I like. And frankly, I just didn't get, I'm going to draft Bijan Gibbs, JT, Saquon, Jeremiah Love. I'm going to draft these guys, Brees. So I know Eric just being a 0 RB bro again. It's just kind of sort of how things shook out in these 2 drafts. But I do like a lot of mid to late round running backs. We talked about paying up for some of these quarterbacks. We talked about some of these specific targets. And so I do like drafting more, almost no matter your structure, drafting more running backs. Now, if I draft like 3 running backs in the first 3 rounds, I don't want to have a million of them. But if I'm drafting, even like a superhero running back, meaning 2-ish early guys, I still want to have a stable because I have 20 rounds. And on Underdog and half PPR, running backs are more valuable. Running backs also have pretty much the best potential outside of, a rookie wide receiver, but we price them pretty effectively now. The running backs have the best chance of being like, you got that dude in the 18th round in the big board? That's absurd. And now that's for rookies, but that's also for these free agents. It's for backups, right? It's for a lot of that stuff. And so I overall want to be drafting a higher quantity of running backs onto my teams. But we're about to be up, but Drake London, Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, Colston Loveland, Terry McLaurin, Caleb Williams, Justin Herbert. So we closed out quarterback again, fairly early, part of my plan this year. Kyle Manungai, Tyler Algier, Jalen Coker, Trey Harris, Tyjae Spears, Kamani Vidal, Dylan Sampson, Ryan Flanoy, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan James, and Brian Robinson. We talked about Malik Davis. Let's do Malik Davis. He really did I'm really, really intrigued by him. I'm not super excited or anything like that, but I'm intrigued. Oh, God. This is the perfect final pick for our first big board stream ever of 2026. Trey Lance's brother. Yes, Trey Lance's brother is an NFL draft prospect from the same school as Trey Lance. The most fitting way, I think, to introduce 2026 is, yes, there's another Lance in our lives. No, he does not play quarterback. Yes, he will probably suck. But I like Bryce Lance. I'm pretty into Bryce Lance as a late round dart wide receiver, which I think was the appropriate way to play it on this team, which of course has a stable of wide receivers at the top. But I think Bryce Lance can play, and so we'll be talking about him some more. We don't got to get into the full breakdown right now. But Steven says, how about Ray Davis this year? Love. Talked about Ray Davis. Drafted Ray Davis on. This is the second draft we've done on this stream. Drafted Ray Davis on the first one. Talked about him there. Could not agree more. Love him. Big fan. Yeah, if you have not clicked the like button here, I would greatly appreciate a thumbs up before we get out of here. I would greatly appreciate a subscribe. We took a little miniature break, right? Recharge the batteries, enjoy some playoff football. But we're back tomorrow. Same same time, 11 a.m. Eastern. If you enjoy baseball, yes, there's best ball out there as well. We're going to draft some MLB best ball teams. If you subscribe to Spike Week, you can get all the tools that you see here. We got some, I'm working on some more content to show you guys everything that draft optimizer can do, because I think you're going to love it. I think it's really good for the big board, especially. We'll get into that. But one price, right? One monthly price, $39.99 a month, or one annual price, $200 a year, get you 100% of everything, single thing that we offer here at Spike Week. Again, no shade, but I worked in the business for a long time. The amount of different packages, and okay, you got to get the props package here, and you got to get the NBA package here, and you got to get the college sports package here, and you got to pay for the Discord upgrade and all that kind of stuff. I know how it goes. We're not doing that. Everything we get, all the rankings, MLB, college basketball will be coming up. We're going to do all that kind of stuff. And of course, NFL, which we're rolling out tons and tons of content, rankings, updates, all that kind of stuff for NFL. We'll be back tomorrow to do some MLB drafts. And on Friday, if you missed it, on Friday, I'll be doing like a mailbag episode. We'll probably hang out and draft some teams too. But I want to do just like, I might try to make that the Friday thing, where if you guys leave a comment on any of these videos and there's a question or something you're interested in just like hearing discussed, right? Drop the comment here or in the Discord, in the live streams and media channel. You can drop a question or whatever. You can DM me if you feel more comfortable DMing me, whatever. It doesn't matter, but we'll just talk about whatever it is that you guys are interested in. Can be players, can be structure, can be real life, can be why St. Louis University is the greatest college basketball team in America this year, whatever floats your boat. We can talk about it, but that'll be on Friday. Drop a comment, drop a like, all that fun stuff. Excited to be back. Little miniature break, but we're ready to rock and roll. I'll see you guys tomorrow for some baseball drafts, and I'll see you Friday for some more football. Cheers.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.